Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm diving into a story from a young lady's high school days that still gives her chills. It's the kind of thing that starts as a weird joke, but ends up feeling like something straight out of a supernatural thriller. It's creepy, bizarre, and honestly, the kind of story you'd think people make up for views, except it really happened. It's a very true story.
This is the story of Patrick. Or, at least, that's what I'll call him here, because even now, saying his real name feels wrong. Stick around, because by the end, you might not sleep tonight. Let's rewind to high school. Patrick wasn't like anyone else in our school. He wasn't just quiet or awkward, he was unsettling. He wore the same gray hoodie every single day, and I don't think he ever washed it because he smelled awful. He kept his hood up and wore these dark sunglasses, even inside. Teachers gave up asking him to take them off because he'd just ignore them. What made him stand out even more was his claim. Patrick swore he was a demon. That's right, a demon. It was easy to dismiss as something a weird kid might say for attention, but the way he acted made it hard to brush off. He had this eerie habit of adopting people. If Patrick liked you, he'd walk up to you and declare you're adopted. It was his way of saying you were under his protection. Most people didn't take him seriously, but here's the kicker. He didn't like many people. Very few were ever adopted. I was one of them. Looking back, I think he had a crush on me. But at the time, I just thought it was random. Things started getting weird one afternoon. My friends and I, Gabby, Laura, Luke and I were hanging out at the school's dugouts, killing time. Somehow, the conversation turned to Patrick's crush on Gabby. We were all laughing about it, teasing her a little, and honestly, just being typical teenagers. Here's the thing, Patrick's name was hard to say casually, so we usually used a nickname. But this time, Laura accidentally said his real name. Not once, but 3 times in the same conversation. And then it happened. Patrick appeared out of nowhere. He jumped up onto the dugout roof, holding a baseball bat. We froze. He just stood there, staring at us. He didn't say anything, and honestly, it was one of the most unsettling things I've ever experienced. I gave him a little wave, and he nodded at me, just me, before hopping back down and disappearing. We were all creeped out, but laughed about it afterward. We chalked it up to a weird coincidence. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Things got even stranger a few weeks later. I was hanging out at Laura's house, just the 2 of us. We were in her room, talking about random stuff, and surprise, Patrick's name came up again. Somehow, between the 2 of us, we said his real name 3 times. About 10 minutes later, we heard the front door slam shut. Confused, we ran downstairs, thinking maybe one of Laura's friends had stopped by unannounced. But when we turned the corner into the living room, we froze. There he was, Patrick, just standing there, talking to Laura's mom like it was the most normal thing in the world. Her mom asked him why he was there, and his reply still gives me goosebumps. He said, "I was summoned." Laura's mom, bless her heart, made small talk with him for a minute before politely asking him to leave. And he did quietly, without any resistance. But Laura and I were horrified. As we walked back upstairs, we started piecing things together. That was twice now. Both times we said his name 3 times, and both times he appeared. We made a pact right then and there to never, ever say his name 3 times again. Of course, it's high school, so not everyone believed us. A few months later, we were hanging out at our friend Johnny's house. Me, Gabby, Laura, Luke, and Johnny himself. The topic of Patrick came up again, and we told Johnny about our summoning theory. Johnny, being the skeptic he was, laughed it off. Even after we all confirmed the story, he refused to believe it. So, to prove how ridiculous he thought it was, he did the one thing we begged him not to do. He said, Patrick's real name. 3 times. At first, nothing happened. Johnny grinned, called us stupid, and went on like it was no big deal. But then we saw him. Patrick had jumped over Johnny's backyard fence and was standing there, staring at us. We all froze. He didn't say a word, just looked at us for a few seconds before jumping back over the fence and disappearing. Johnny was furious. He accused us of setting it up, but we swore we had nothing to do with it. That's when it started sinking in. This wasn't just some weird coincidence. Patrick knew. The last encounter I had with Patrick was the most terrifying, and it's the one that still haunts me. A few months after the incident at Johnny's house, I was home alone. My parents were out, which was rare, so I invited a guy I was talking to over. At some point, Patrick's name came up, and I told him the whole story. He laughed, of course, and decided it'd be funny to scare me. Before I could stop him, he screamed Patrick's name 3 times at the top of his lungs. The moment he finished, the rain outside started pouring harder and lightning lit up the sky. I ran to my window, and that's when I saw him. A silhouette standing in my driveway, looking up at my window. I panicked. I shut the blinds, locked every door in the house, and started screaming, "I'm adopted!" over and over again, hoping it would do something. When I looked out the window again, he was gone. But the next morning, I found something horrifying in my backyard. Patrick's gray hoodie, wrapped around a few of my belongings, things I thought I'd lost. I didn't call the police. I was too scared, and my parents weren't home. I figured I'd tell them later, but I never got the chance. Because Patrick disappeared. The very next day, he didn't show up to school. Or the day after that. In fact, no one ever saw him again. As I've gotten older, I've tried to make sense of everything. Maybe Patrick was just a deeply troubled kid who somehow stalked me and my friends, overhearing our conversations and showing up at the perfect moments. But how did he always know exactly where to be? And why did he leave that hoodie behind with my belongings? Part of me still wonders if there was something more to his claims about being a demon. Maybe it was just an elaborate act, but it felt so real in the moment.
So, what do you think? Was Patrick just a creepy stalker, or was there something supernatural going on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss my next story. And maybe, just maybe, think twice before you say someone's name 3 times. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.